let's do the little IKEA panel curtains. So you'll need some fabric, whatever you want. You could also use cardstock, especially that like sort of translucent cardstock might be really pretty. Some wire. This is 1mm wire, and so that's the thickest wire that you can find that beads will go over the end. So the beads that you need 2 beads for the end of each side of the curtain. But you're also going to need to string some beads on here. So get the smallest bead possible to fit over that 1mm. So, it can't be a seed bead. It's going to need to be a step up from that, but these are going to be threaded on there. So make sure whatever beads you choose there. That's what I had found. A white paint pen. Now, I showed you in the last video that you use tacky glue, you just water that down to a milky consistency, and so in the other one I show you how to make that and what to do with that, and then some clear glue. And this is for your ends and so forth. So what you're going to do with your fabric is you're going to cut 3 panels, and these panels are 2.6 wide by 10. Okay, you'll cut each of those. You'll go ahead and soak them. What's nice about these is you can get a little bit more of the water out of them. You're going to want to lie them very, very flat and watch them, because you might need to hold them down with something to keep them nice and flat, or you might need to iron them afterwards just with a cool iron. And so what you want is a nice flat, wrinkle-free if at all possible. And then what you do is just use your tacky glue and turn under at what will be the top about, I'd say that's about 4 or 5 millimeters. Now, if that winds up being too long in your house, then of course you can just trim this. You can clean up the edges. You can do any of that after you soak this. It's not a problem at all. Now, what I want to do is I want to get out those beads that were as close to a millimeter or whatever size wire you had as possible in the middle of them. So what I'm going to do, when you see I went ahead and did this one, this panel, the beads go on as kind of close to the ends. They don't have to be right at the ends, but you notice that I glued them sideways so that we're going to be able to string these on the wire. And then as close to the top as possible, I want them to be the same distance across so that it's not wobbly. Now, that's this one. That's panel 1. It's the panel that will be to the inside on the end. I'll show you. These, however, I can put 1 bead at the end. That's fine. That's just fine like the other one. But then I want one toward the middle. So this one is the same. Let me just go ahead and put that there to show you. And then this one in the middle. Okay. So, and I want to do the same thing as I did here, which is I tried to get this as close to the edge of the top as possible without going over it. Now I have to be patient, and I'm going to go ahead, and this panel will be like this panel. Okay, same side is fine. Okay, in fact, same side, you need to make sure you do the same side. So it needs to go toward the left. Both of them need to go toward the left because they're going to overlap, and then that way you can open and close it and it won't block off the whole window. Okay, I think I told you that already. But at any rate, that's why these have to go there. Okay, so we're gonna wait for that to dry. I'll put those two on in a minute. While you're waiting for those to dry, and they need to be good and dry, go ahead and cut your wire. Now, if you can find wire that's already straightened, that's great, because you know, there's various techniques I've seen online to get wire straight, but it never quite is just as straight as I'd like. At any rate, you're going to cut this to 11 centimeters. Okay, you'll cut it to 11 centimeters. And I have one that I did here. And I did this, this has a little glue on it. That's why it looks like that. I rolled it and tried to bend it. If you have 2 needle nose pliers, you can pull it. That's another technique. This I could probably work on a little bit more. But at least whatever you decide to have as the front, see if you can't get that as even as possible. So that takes some time and patience, but that's what we want to do. All right, so we do this and we get this as straight as possible while we wait for these to dry. And so I'll be back in a minute. When these are dry, and actually it really doesn't matter what step you do first, but I went ahead and just glued mine on. And then what you need to do, if you want to, is use your paint pen and do a little design on the back. Now, IKEA has one that's kind of a bunch of vines on it. But, I mean, we're dealing with such a small scale that you may just want to, you know, do something like this. Okay, say you put little lines there. And then, I'm trying to control how much ink I have here. And then maybe you do like that. And it gives you sort of a floral look. You don't have to do this at all. But the simpler you do on these, the best. And you notice I do it on the back. I do my painting on the back. It doesn't matter that much. But if I just kind of go through and I can do a little floral, I could do dots, I could do maybe some sort of freestyle lines, you know, pinstripe type of idea. But at any rate, I can go and do whatever I want here. And when that's nice and dry, what it'll do is give you, particularly if there's light behind this, it'll be a nice little pattern similar to the look that IKEA has. Now, if you paint on the front, it doesn't matter. Like I said, it's not going to make that big of a difference. You know, that's up to you. Maybe you want it to be stronger. Maybe you want that texture. But this is kind of, yeah, it's similar to what IKEA has. And then you could do it all the way up, or you could just do the bottom. And I wouldn't just do the top, unless maybe you do a vine across here, just one. You could do that. So once all that is nice and dry, then you're ready to go ahead and string these on. Now the ends, you can glue those now, or you can glue them later. Maybe you want to just, what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and I'll glue one on just as a stopper. These are bigger, but it's not going to matter. You could use the same ones you did here, but I wanted something that was going to look sort of silver. Okay, now what I do here, and if you're holding it in your left hand, that's cool. However it is, you string this one first, the one that has the beads at both ends. You're going to string that first. Okay. Then, if you glue these on the left like I suggested, then these go next. Okay. And if you pull this forward, you'll notice this is how that's going to work. It's going to overlap. And that's how you open up the window shade. So these will go all the way across. If you're finding that your fabric is super heavy, you know, and these are maybe not hanging as well as you would like, you can always, you know, give yourself a little extra fabric and then fold it over a little thicker. But it's hard for me to hold it this way and just show you. But these work pretty well. They hang pretty straight afterwards. This is a little bit of a heavy fabric. When you go to mount this on the window, you want this to line up with the end of the window. I'll show you my bad picture here. You want this end to line up. Just ignore all of this and just look at the picture. You want it to line up with the end here, but you want this end to extend. It'll be about 1 centimeter or so, depending upon the size of your window. But if you do it my dimensions, then this is about 1 centimeter that sticks out here. And then that way, you know, this doesn't completely cover the window, that you can draw this back. And I found, you know, I found that gluing it this distance apart works best for keeping these to hang straight. So I know if we did them even closer, this would close even more. But it just wasn't holding the fabric very well. Now it might hold paper okay. So the very last step that I almost forgot is that you need, you know, your little pole that you use, the little stick that you use to open and close this. So you just have your sewing pin here, and you're just going to clip off the top like so, and then clip off just enough to keep this from being too pointy. Okay, and then get it really doesn't matter what glue you want to use on this, but where did that go? Here we go. But you're just going to glue this kind of off to the side here. And now you can do this before you go and actually string these on here. This is going to be a problem, but you know, kind of on the outside. I mean, in real life, it might be hidden a little more. But you're just going to go ahead and do that, and you don't need to glue it down more than that, because if I pick this up and it stays, then it'll kind of hang, it'll kind of move a little bit, and it just looks a little bit more real. So there's your little thing. So you can open and close it. Unfortunately, it doesn't work exactly like an IKEA panel where you pull on this and then all of them go this way. But the thing is, you would need, you know, you could do it if you wanted to, but you would need 3 wires, and then you would kind of connect these together with some string maybe, and then you could pull it across and close it, and it would all stay together. But I just don't have it in me to do that, so I thought I'd just show you this way. So there's your little IKEA panel curtains. So thanks for watching, and please subscribe.